The next stage is to write the counter subject, and what we're going to do is we'll start up here with our subject, and what we're going to do is just analyse it a little bit and try to harmonise it in really simple terms. So really simple harmony. I'm going to basically just use chords 1 and 5 all the way through here. It makes life much easier for us. Now I'm just going to pull this up underneath here. It's a little list of chords. The chords for G major, chord 1, G, B, D, chord 5, 7, D, F sharp, A, potentially C, and in D major, chord 1, D, F sharp, A, and 5, 7, A, C sharp, E, G. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in underneath here some lyrics, just to highlight what chord I'm going to use. That'll be chord 1, an A, chord 5, maybe 5, 7, I don't know, decide later. Chord 1 off with a B. I see there's a C here, that fits with chord 5, 7, although we're noticing that the C is the 7th of the chord, so we really want that to be a descending step in the next note, next bar, which it is, which means we can use 5, 7 here. If it didn't come down the way, then that would be more of a problem. It wouldn't be so easy to use 5, 7. Remember that the 7th has to resolve downwards by step. We have a B here again, so chord 1, an A, chord 5, then a B, a G, and an octave leap for another G. We'll call that chord 1 all the way through there. And this is in G major, chord 1, 5, 1, 5, 7, 1, 5, 1. If we go down to the answer, because it's a real answer, it should be possible to use exactly the same chords, just transposed. And if we look at that, it should be the case. So let's carry on. Here, chord 1, chord 5, chord 1, 5, 7, yes, it all seems to be working, 5 and 1. Things to note, this chord 1 here, of course, is chord 1 in D major, which is a D major chord, which is, of course, chord 5 in G major, so when we get to the end of the answer, we'll have a chord of D major, which is the dominant, taking us back to G major in the third column, subject in the tenor part. Next stage is to choose some notes. I've got the basic outline in terms of the harmony, so now I'll choose some notes. I'm not going to start here with the top part. I'm going to actually start choosing notes for the soprano part. If we look at the second column here, the answer is in the dominant key in the alto part, and my counter subject is in the soprano part. So it's the soprano part here, which is going to carry on. So I'm carrying on from this high G. I'm not just going to pick any old note. I'm thinking I'm on a G here. What note would nicely come after that fits chord 1 in D major? And I think, well, I've had an octave leap, nice change direction, coming down to an F sharp. Before I do that, bear in mind I'm using Sibelius, I'm going to just select all of that and make it voice 2. And then I shall make this note here. Oh, yes, that's it. F sharp coming down. And then it doesn't really matter. I can choose anything that sort of fits in with the chord. 1, chord 5. So perhaps I want to have a bit of C sharp to really make it feel as if. Oops. There we are, C sharp. So I really feel like I'm in D major. That will then be in the leading note of D major, rise upwards to D there. Then we've got 5, 7. Perhaps I could come down to a C sharp again. Well, that might be a little bit dull, having had the C sharp here, but we'll see. Let's go for that for the moment. C sharp there, and then we'll go back up to D, and then we're back down to maybe C sharp. And now I'm thinking this is really quite dull, so I'm going to go back over this and have another little think about it. Perhaps I'll make that an E, even though it's not clear that it's chord 5. Later on in the fugue there'll be other parts in there that can fill out that chord to make it clear. So I've got this coming down now, passing down, down to here, C sharp, D, C sharp, D. I like the C sharp D rising up here, so maybe I'll come down to an A there, Let's have a listen to it. So there we have it, basic counter subject. And what I'm going to do is I'm now going to go back to my chart at the top. That was the counter subject that was going against the answer. In the third column, that's to say the third line of the music, I've now got the subject in the tenor part in G, and the counter subject needs to be in G, carrying on the alto part. So this needs to now carry on with the counter subject, this time in the alto part, and this has to match up here with we had here the answer on D, and then the counter subject come in with a third of the chord. What we want here is the subject with the counter subject in the alto part coming in on the third of the chord. Okay, so that's just going to come down exactly in exactly the same fashion that we had up here. So we've got the same notes of the chord and the counter subject that we had before. And then what I can do is I can take this here. If we look at this, counter subject and answer, at this point, the second column, it's counter subject and answer and a 10 on the bass part. I'm just going to paste all of that in to my lower part. So the second line, soprano and alto, is the same as the tenor and bass part for line 4. Now there's something interesting. We have here the subject, which finishes with this octave leap and then a descending step to that F sharp. But the answer in the alto part, we have an octave leap, which then carries on with the counter subject, but not by a descending step. It comes down to a B, comes down by a leap of a third. The reason for that is the subject is in G major, the answer is in D major, so the subject has risen up to the new key of D major by a fifth. When we have the answer doing exactly the same thing, when we go back to G, it's a rise of only a fourth. G up to D is a fifth, D up to G is a fourth, therefore we're out by one note if we carry on in exactly the same fashion. So what we'll do is, bearing in mind that this is chord 1 in D major, which this bar here, which is the same as chord 5 in G major, which leads us back to the tonic key. What we could do is just alter our subject a little bit, just so we've got now a C falling down to the B. I said subject, I actually mean answer, of course, our answer. So it's no longer a real answer. The very final note makes it a tonal answer. So we've got effectively 5-7 in G major. That's the 7th. It resolves downwards by step to the B there. So we've changed our, what for the most part is a real answer, just that final note making a tonal answer, so we have a smooth transition back to the key of G major. I'll just do the corresponding change in the bass part there.